I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. I want to save the world.
From ALDA, this is the Protect Your Wild podcast. Each Tuesday, we go balls deep into sustainable stories, wild ideas, and legendary people. I'm Colin Campbell, here with my co-host Avinash Pika.
And today we're going into the legendary crocodile hunter, also known as Steve Irwin. So, if you haven't heard of him, you've been probably living under a rock, or you're like a hyper, Gen Z kind of kid.
You're an idiot if you haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's still a legend. Just to kick things off, he's kind of like this. He's like the pioneer for wildlife. Not documentaries, but I would say like shows and being an enthusiast and kind of bringing it to like the TV realm. And just kicking it off, what was your favorite moment that you've seen from the Crocodile Hunter, Colin?
Well, as you know, I never remember specific moments of any TV or movie in the past ever. So, what I do remember, though, that always connected with me is he has this, like, infectious enthusiasm. That's the one thing that always stuck with me. It'd be like, regardless of the animal of the episode, I was always just, if he was on, I was just captivated. Because the way he would just talk about what he loved, like, it just carried through so well that I couldn't look away. It was exciting. It was passionate. It was, it was epic. I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely see that. He always had like his good catchphrases like crikey and mate. I feel like that's the Australian part of him.
Yeah, I think he's just Australian. Yeah. And then Americans are like, oh, that must be his catchphrase.
Yeah, well, I also think crikey, like, I have Australian cousins, right, and a lot of family is in Australia. I'm actually going there in January. But they don't say crikey. But they do say mate a lot. It's really weird.
Yeah. I think Steve Irwin ruined crikey for the whole country.
I don't think he ruined it. I think he coined the term.
Well, you just look like you're copying Steve Irwin now if you say it these days, right?
That's just good branding. You can't knock him for that.
Oh, it's not his fault. It's not his fault.
It's not his. Well, yeah, it's. I mean, he did it though.
Well, it was like America that found it so unique. All right, we don't need to get into the details of crikey.
Okay, either way.
It's too soon.
I think for me, my favorite moment, just being a Florida Gator, is I can't remember if it was an ad or something. But
it was an ESPN ad.
Albert, it was an ESPN ad, right? Albert, the alligator, which is our school mascot, came out of the elevator, and Steve Irwin sees him and completely tackles him. And I thought that was like so funny because like it's like that's a gator, that's Steve Irwin, and two worlds colliding. So that's always a very, very nice sight to see. And I thought it was funny because like he's known for like jumping on crocodiles on camera, and like nobody's ever seen that before, like on TV. Like someone like Attenborough would be like narrating, oh, the crocodile sits by the river and then waits for the sea to come and eat it, right?
He was like an observer, like a more passive observer kind of.
Exactly. But Steve Irwin's like, let's jump on this bitch.
Which, yeah, check out our Attenborough episode if you want to learn more about him. We did that as well. He was kind of like the only forerunner to Steve Irwin, basically.
I agree. So Steve Irwin comes in there and he's just like, boom, hop on this animal, and he had his TV show Crocodile Hunter. That was like just amazing. I remember watching that as a kid, and like my parents being like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "I want to watch Crocodile Hunter," right? And like,
wait,
come
how'd
on,
you say it?
What? I want to watch Crocodile Hunter.
I just wanted you to
And,
say
like,
that again.
yeah, because like you're a little kid, so and like I remember watching it as a kid and like just loving it. And it was such a good show because it was educational, but also like it he had this personality that you could see like he cared deeply about it,
Oh yeah.
right? So you were emotionally invested in it, and as a kid, like you got excited from it because like you notice a lot of like TV show personalities for the kids especially are very animated, very like enthusiastic about things, and I think he had that charisma to pull it off.
Oh, for sure.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And then he showed up on late night shows, and he was a good personality.
Yeah. So
Like
yeah, we're basically gonna get into it. Like, everybody knows of Steve Irwin, but especially I think the younger generations don't really know like what this dude is
Yeah.
all about and why he was so famous, so influential, so like loved by the world.
uh,
So yeah, basically we're gonna get into it and why he's so fucking awesome and why
yeah.
we miss him every day. R.I.P.
Yeep. So Colin, the first question Gen Z or young kid would ask is,
An idiot.
is he called the Crocodile Hunter? Her.
Yeah, so he was actually working with crocodiles from the age of 9 and reportedly under the supervision of his dad wrestled his first crocodile at the age of 9. So that's not just working with like feeding one. That's like I'm putting hands on this bitch. And yeah, so from there and as a young adult, he worked capturing and relocating crocs that were in populated areas and stuff that had been spotted. So he volunteered doing that for the National Parks and Wildlife Service. And, that was also how they would capture the crocs that now live, in the Australian zoo or his family's zoo at the time. Well, it's still in the family, I suppose, but
Interesting. So like how in Florida you'd have like retention ponds and stuff like that, and you'd find like a gator in
Right.
there,
yeah.
right? So young Steve Irwin was kind of like the guy you'd call and you'd drag it out of the water and be like hopping on it, put it in his truck, and then send it back to his personal zoo.
Yeah, well, in some cases, yeah, I would go back to their zoo, but in others, I think they would just relocate him to somewhere more remote. And he was rocking a much, much more intense mullet at that time, too, which is pretty sweet. So
Interesting.
the
Wow.
mullet is, I think, part of the key to his effectiveness with reptiles.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, I think that's like, which kind of parent is like cool with their kid being around something that can eat them? Like you'd have to have a lot of confidence in your kid
Oh,
and
yeah.
handling that kid and handling that animal that you'd be like, yeah, sure, young kid, jump on that alligator.
Little Steven.
I'm a grown ass person. I still wouldn't jump on an alligator
wouldn't?
on a.
I think I'd consider it.
Or I would if I was trained properly. If someone's like, yo, this is how you do it.
It looks
here's some
like you just
practice
jump
steps.
on it and shut his mouth, right? It seems pretty straightforward.
It's yeah, until you get bit, and it's like, all right,
Oh, yeah, then kind of
where's your
game
arm?
over at that point.
Yeah, so it just takes one mistake, right, Colin?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this guy, though, what made him so good at what he does is that he did it since he was a kid, It was
Yeah, yeah.
ingrained, it was in his blood, man.
Yeah, he's immersed in that like lifestyle, that kind of mindset, and also like it's like growing up with pets, right? He knows the animals, and I forgot what was his name. So you remember I want to say complaint, but my complaint about reptiles was you can't really tell if they're angry or sad
Emotion,
or whatever. Yeah, I have a hard time like catching the emotions of reptiles, and after we had that guest on our podcast, Chance, yeah, I remember. He explained, like, it's their behaviors and the reactions that you have to kind of look at to see their emotions. I think Steve was really good at that, like kind of reading into the temperature of the alligator or crocodile, and just being like, all right, this guy's pissed, this guy's not, and like learning how to assess that situation and maneuver it and deal with it on camera, and you can see him like assess it and jump and react accordingly.
Yeah,
I think it's the exact same thing with snakes, just because like you can see the way he like looks first, then acts, but then also like his eyes are always on the animal, kind of like reading it.
Right, because it's like it's like a fight or flight. Like I guess reptiles, since their brains are so much more primitive, it's like, well, they're either gonna try to run or they're gonna try to posture and attack, right? And when they're posturing up, that's where he's, you see him like scurrying around side to side, like dodging snake strikes and like jumping back from crocodiles. Like, oh, that's when the insane shit happens.
100%.
Dodging cobra spit.
Yeah. So like, I mean, Steve Irwin must have been in pretty good shape and had good reflexes for him to like deal with, the animals that he was dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I found out in my research he actually trained doing MMA. He was a big MMA fan, which is like, was kind of funny, like knowing that he's like wrestling crocodiles, that he also partook in doing some mixed martial arts with some humans. I wonder which one was harder.
I would honestly say the one that's more deadlier is humans, but the one that's harder is probably the animals. Because I don't know if you've ever like tried to wrestle any animal before, but
not a big one.
They're strong.
Yeah.
Like for example, the thing that like blew my mind was the strength in an elephant. Like they look so large, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, okay, cool. They're super gentle and chill. But when you see them move objects that like literally a human couldn't, like so the last time I was in Africa, I was like 16, and I got to ride on top of one. But we were at this like elephant park, and I just saw it like lift a log, and I was like, holy shit, dude. it lifted it like it was nothing, right? But for me, me and maybe like 4 other guys still wouldn't be able to pick that up.
Yeah.
Right. That's when it like dawned on me, like some animals are like ridiculously stronger than humans.
Oh yeah.
So I'm imagining like an alligator has had all these years of evolution to just make its body like the most agile, most powerful predator.
I bet it could squat more than a chimpanzee though.
Maybe its legs are shorter.
Yeah, they're more upper body. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Either way, but like just having that kind of power is just so interesting. I'm sure have you ever like caught a dog before?
A pug, not like a big dog. Well, that's not true. I had friends with bigger dogs that I'd play with, and yeah, they're just playing tug of war with one. You see how fucking strong they are.
Exactly.
They rip their head around.
Yeah, when I was staying in Atlanta, when my roommates had a dog, and that dog got loose, and I had to chase it down the street. And when I jumped on it and grabbed him, like, it put up a good fight. I was like, holy shit, bro. Like, you're making me tired. And then carrying his dumbass home was just so much work. I was like, dying. But either way, it's just like, you underestimate the power in some animals. Yeah. But either way, back to the crocodile hunter himself.
Steve.
Tell me more about his like career and how did he become this crocodile hunter?
Yeah, so obviously it starts with his job, at the zoo. The what was once his like family zoo and animal sanctuary, then kind of evolved over time into the Australian zoo, and Steve all along is working with these animals, right? And he's doing the crocodile shows, and he actually did some home videos of his own of these missions, I guess, of relocating these crocs, right? So he got a
Yeah.
little bit of a reputation going from that and from the zoo, and his whole goal with that is he wanted it filmed so that it felt like the person was like right up there with him, right? Like right up in the animal's face, right in the middle of the action. And so, soon after, not really soon after, but as a young adult, then they started this show, The Crocodile Hunter, in 1996 that ran all the way until 2006 with a 78 episode run, which is pretty nuts. Like that, I think alone shows how it didn't get old. You know what I mean? When it's a shtick or something like that, when somebody's faking it, I feel like people then see through it and it just gets old and you move on. But
Agreed.
yeah, again, something about this guy is just so captivating that he had kind of the world by the balls while this show was coming out, and people loved him, including his wife that he of course met in the first episode. The pilot episode of The Crocodile Hunter was actually filmed, a lot of it in their honeymoon. So he's taking her out, catching animals and slinging snakes around and shit for their honeymoon, which is pretty great.
He lived and breathed that lifestyle.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think Terri, who's his wife, supported him and loved doing that too.
Oh, she was right there with him.
They had a good chemistry together.
Yeah, it takes a lot of trust.
You define that as a power couple, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. The power mullet couple. They both were kind of rocking similar mullets at a time.
Yeah. I would make fun of the mullet. I think they pull it off.
Oh yeah, they're the best looking mullet couple out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Australian thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, and yeah. So obviously, there's a tragic end to this story.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So during the Crocodile Hunter, first of all, he did lots of other projects. He had his movie, The Croc Hunter Collision Course, in 2002. I remember seeing that. He had lots of cameos in different movies. And little known, this was new to me, he actually played a voice in Happy Feet. So if you fuck with Happy Feet, you're definitely going to fuck with it. Even
Actually,
heavier.
the last time I watched it was February.
Oh, really?
Great. Yeah, I actually recall it. Which character did he play?
Shit. He played it was like a seal or a sea lion. Hold on. Quick Google search.
Because
he played
wasn't Bradley Cooper in that movie?
Bradley Cooper, I don't know. Oh, he played a what is that? Trev, an elephant seal, I think.
Oh, okay.
Trev.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know. One of my roommates here reminds me of one of the characters from Happy Feet. You know the one with the necklace, but it's not a necklace; it's a plastic.
Oh, right.
Yeah, around his neck.
Yeah.
He's just like a spitting image of that, and just like.
Dude, they were on top of that ocean plastic fad before it became big. I mean, it's
yeah.
part of what influenced it, I think, right?
Yeah, and it definitely, brought awareness to that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was 2006.
Yeah.
2006. But what blows my mind is all this climate change and do good for the environment stuff was happening, or we knew about it way before it became popular now. And I still feel like it's not super popular now. It's trending, but
yeah.
I definitely think it needs to blow up a bit more.
Yeah, I mean that ocean plastic especially, it's the kids, I would attribute part of it being the kids when Happy Feet came out. Happy Feet was a big ass movie.
Yeah.
And the kids that were watching that are basically our age now.
Yeah, they're basically this age, which is a fair assessment, and I think that definitely helped influence it.
Right.
And growing up, we watched shows like Crocodile Hunter and David Attenborough.
Yeah, we're lucky.
So we know what we're missing out on and what's at stake for climate change.
Generally now there was like a multi-year stretch where Animal Planet just became like rescued abusive dogs shows. Like that was it. It was like rescuing dogs in Texas, rescuing dogs in New Mexico. It was like, all right, dude, where's Steve Irwin?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a feeling that might have been like contracts and stuff at play there.
Maybe.
But yeah, he is definitely impactful. And I do remember watching it on Animal Planet. I do remember even like telling my parents when they were choosing like, oh, should we go with DirecTV or this, right? I was like, as long as it has Animal Planet.
Yeah. It was like, bitch, give me Animal Planet, Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network, and I'm set. Disney,
Yeah,
get out of here.
like leave me alone at home for hours, and I'll be.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, as you mentioned, as most people know, Steve Irwin passed from a stingray strike. So it was his last project in 2007. They were filming another documentary style special called Ocean's Deadliest. And so I watched the interview with his partner, right-hand man, that was with him on a lot of these adventures, and his account of the day. Basically, their original plans got kind of knocked out by weather, so, Steve being all high energy and like, oh, we got to do something, they just do something. So they go and found these stingrays, and they're in like kind of like chest deep water, not even scuba diving or anything. And it was like apparently the last shot they were going to get of this stingray swimming away. With Steve in the back, the stingray in between the cameraman and Steve, right? So they're filming. The goal, normally they just swim away when you approach them. So Steve moves in on the stingray, and all of a sudden it just starts quickly doing a bunch of stabs in a row with its tail. That they have a large barb on their tail, and this sucker was about 8 feet wide, the stingray. So and the guy said he got the shot of it swimming away, and he didn't even realize Steve had been hit until after the shot he looks up and he's in a pool of his own blood. And and that was it. It was punctured his heart. It was fatal. And he said with all the dangerous stuff that they did, he kind of knew, like, as invincible as Steve Irwin seems, he's a larger than life figure, right? He's done all this stuff. He's risked his life so many times with so many different types of animals, and he was like, I knew it would have been, if something were to happen, it would be something that you'd never expect. Stingrays are normally docile. They normally just run away. And so, the world lost a living legend in conservation, somebody who inspired millions and millions of people around the world with just his bleeding passion for animals. It's so simple and so beautiful, and changed, I think, a lot of people's perspectives on the natural world.
Yeah, and it definitely was a tragedy, and I can definitely understand. I don't know. Have you ever had experiences with stingrays?
No, not personally, except like stroking a little one in the zoo or whatever, aquarium.
Yeah, at SeaWorld or somewhere like that. So I had that experience. I've also been stung. I can tell you it happens so fast. Like you'll see the stingray, you'll know what's gonna happen, and then it just happens. And
you're like, what? Ow.
Okay. Yeah, you the first thing you feel is the puncture, and it's so fast. Like, have you ever tried like moving your hand really quickly through water? Right?
Through water. Yeah.
Yeah, through water. It's so hard to like move your hand really quickly through water, right?
Yeah.
It's thicker. There's just substance. You just can't move out the way fast enough. There's literally no way.
Right.
And I just remember even when I just got off the surfboard and like I saw this stingray and my foot was near it and just boom, I could just feel the pain. I was like, I got stung. Like, you just know.
Did the one that hit you have a toxin? Or I assume
It
there's
did.
different types, but yeah, they said they
Yeah,
have a pretty bad
the
poison or
venom,
something.
yeah, the venom I would say is more painful than the sting.
Yeah. What was
It
that like?
is. Ooh,
Painful.
it's just like it's like proper pain. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than
It's
that. It's just
proper. That's your explanation.
like, like you get like,
So
let's say you took a
British.
pencil
So
and
British.
you stuck it in your like foot, you'd
Yeah.
feel that pain. But imagine that, but like it just your pain like receptors just
It's just
tingling.
like burning weirdly, like
It's so like I'd say a jellyfish is like a burn. A stingray is like venom almost, but it's like a pain venom. Like, you can feel it. Like, so it was going up my calf, and I was like, oh shit. So I mean, obviously, the way to cure or get rid of stingray venom is by applying heat to it. So I put it in hot water, and that helped. But
Yeah.
that is a very tragic way to go. And most people don't die from stingray stings, right?
yeah, I mean this one
Generally
was
on their leg.
particularly large and literally punctured his chest and his heart. It was
Yeah, it hit him like in a soft spot, basically.
yeah.
So and like being out in the ocean, there's nothing you can do like to get to land or get to whatever rescue. It's not easily available
Right.
at all.
Right. And
So,
and unfortunately too his wife Terri was abroad doing some sort of adventure somewhere, and she didn't get the news until hours later, but she wasn't there, and they had so many adventures together, so that's
yeah.
I'm sure must have been pretty hard on her, but their relationship I think was a big part of what pulled America and the world in. Is just seeing how like their whole
Like,
dynamic on screen, like how like childish almost their love was in a weird way.
yeah, they like properly loved each other, which was rare to see. Like,
Yeah.
in a day and age where you see like celebrities get together, get divorced, blah blah, go all this
Yeah, not an ounce of bullshit.
shit. Yeah, they had like a proper thing, and like it was just good, very good.
Wholesome. Good wholesome
Yeah,
memes.
and they also had 2 kids, Bindi and Robert, and like that's amazing. So
Yeah,
so
they're both
continuing
very
on,
young at the time too of his death, which sucks. But
yeah, and like continuing on from that, after his death, his legacy kind of still lived on, and I think it's through them, like their his wife, his kids, they kept it going, right? So like the Australia Zoo, for example, just kept on growing,
Yeah.
and since his death, it's become the biggest in Australia, and it now has 1,200 animals, and it's just super. They conserve a lot. They support wildlife education and conservation, and they've become like a beacon basically for what he stood for. I know I think in 2006 he created like a business plan for the zoo to like expand and get bigger.
Nice.
And they kind of like followed that afterward, because like shortly afterward he did pass. So that is pretty awesome. And I know even Bindi and Robert had their own like smaller TV shows, like Bindi the Jungle Girl and some.
Oh right, I remember that.
Yeah,
I think
so
I was
like,
a little older when that came out, so it was a little maybe it was like a little kiddish because she's I think a little younger than us, right?
yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I think so. So like they kind of had this like thing, kind of had their legacy carry on through the family, and they did have a show documenting the Australia Zoo and how it grew. It's called Crikey. It's the Irwins, and that's another thing with Crikey. And
Is that still going on now?
I don't believe it's still airing, but I mean,
You fucked up. Somebody dropped the ball there.
Yeah, but like his name is still still relevant and
Yeah,
still
it's like synonymous with that passion.
Yeah, he's an icon for conservation, liking nature, animals, and like he had this like burning passion. You could definitely see it, and even his kids, right? So Bindi was on Dancing with the Stars, and she still like advocates for everything he supported. And I remember reading like somewhere that when Bindi was kind of young, some reporter asked her, what do you want for your birthday? And she said, I don't want this mining company to take my dad's wildlife reserve land.
Wise beyond
And
her years.
yeah, and I think the government stepped in and was like, hey, you're not allowed to mine on this
Fuck
land.
right off with that.
Yeah, exactly. And so the impact he has and the respect people have for him is so great. And now even with Robert Irwin, I don't know if you've seen lately, like on like what's it called? Not Jay Leno.
Someone,
Jimmy Fallon. Yeah.
Yeah, with Kevin Hart, he was.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, he came about and showed off his animals. He's almost a spitting image of his dad.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and he has like the same charisma, same mannerisms, and it's so weird to see like he's filling those shoes again. You
Right.
know, he's back, and like he lives on through his son, which I find super touching and also like just nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
It's just really touching to see that. So
It is.
he definitely lives on through that. And I know this is another like small tidbit on his legacy, but Steve Irwin did discover a new turtle called the Elsea irwini, named after him. Also called the Irwin snapping turtle, which I find really interesting, because I mean that's pretty badass to have an animal named after you.
Yeah.
Or like a whole species. So like his legacy and like impact was so great. A lot of people kind of looked up to him and kind of wanted it to continue that, right?
Yeah.
I know when he was kind of in his like heyday and like in his what's it called, like groove and making the Crocodile Hunter and everything. Some other guys popped up. I remember watching Jeff Corwin a little bit.
Right. He's like the less cool version of Steve Irwin.
Yeah, and he was like the Jeff Corwin experience. I didn't not like him.
Oh, I still liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought like if I had a choice, like I definitely pick Irwin's show. He was just more animated, more exciting to watch, more passionate, and he was the first one to do it.
Like
the way.
If both were on at the same time, you're definitely watching the Crocodile Hunter.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about it. He was just more entertaining, more passionate, and I think
more Australian.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt.
Just better to watch, right?
Yeah.
And I remember afterward, this guy was actually one of favorite of mine. His name's Austin Stevens. He was like the snake master.
I didn't hear that guy.
Yeah, so Austin Stevens, his whole brand and everything was kind of like the Crocodile Hunter, where he was trying to do like snakes instead of crocodiles. So he called himself the Snake Master. He's from South Africa. He was on Animal Planet and stuff like that. I just don't think his brand took off as much as Steve's did, because he was basically a copycat.
He's literally a knockup. Yeah, next is going to be like the Penguin Wrangler. Just like insert an animal with a verb after.
Yeah, it's like, when you go to like Walmart or something and you see the Frosted Flakes, and then you see the Great Value, like, what's it called?
Crusty
Frosted
Flakes.
corn, like whatever.
Yeah, Corn Crisps or some bullshit.
Yeah, or something like that.
Right.
And you're like, I know this is Frosted Flakes, but it's not really though.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like the Great Value version of the Crocodile Hunter. So, but he was the snake one. So he was pretty enjoyable to watch. My favorite recently, and I think the one who's definitely, I don't know, following in his footsteps pretty well, is Coyote Peterson. I know I'm a huge fan of him. I would say he's my favorite YouTuber because
I like
he reminds-
Logan Paul, so
Oh God.
I'm kidding. Sorry, bye.
Either way, but besides not getting in drama, um, Coyote Peterson, I think, is the closest thing nowadays to the Crocodile Hunter and succeeding his legacy. And I did go, meet him and go to his events and stuff. And he does talk about Irwin and how he inspired him greatly. And he also talks about Attenborough in his book. So it's like, Attenborough inspired him, but then like Irwin kind of like showed him like, oh, like this is like something he can achieve. This is something he can aspire to. And I think that's what definitely influenced him and his channel on YouTube. And his content is similar to Steve Irwin's. If you look at like, how he handles the animals, how he talks about them, the passion he has for them, it's genuine. I can also attest to it. He's not just there for the likes or the subscribers. He genuinely cares about the animals. He's not like a clout chaser. I think that came afterward. And he definitely planned for it and like geared his stuff for it, like branding wise and everything.
Right.
He had
I see what you're saying.
But at the same time, he wasn't like chasing for it. It kind of came to him, and then he was ready when it did.
So you met him in person, right? Did you think he, like, I guess I haven't watched enough of his content, but did his like how he is in his videos like translate to how he is in person, or did he like pipe it up a bit, or like punch it up for the videos, or do you know what I'm saying? Like, was he more animated in videos versus in person?
Yeah. How he is on his videos is how he is in person. I would say it's like very slightly toned down, because obviously if you talk like that in real life, you seem like a weirdo, right? I think, but like even when you're talking to him, he knows like what a real conversation is, but you can see he's definitely like passionate about what he's speaking about. He's not like just blowing smoke up.
Right.
And he talks about Steve Irwin a lot as his inspiration, and something he aspires to. He looks at that and he's like, that's what inspired him. I mean, look at where he is now. I mean, he's still a YouTuber, right? I think now he's just now being brought on by Animal Planet.
Oh,
but
cool.
He's following that path.
I mean,
but
YouTube's
I
bigger than TV shit now, so nothing. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he definitely follows in that, but like Steve Irwin will always be the OG. You know what I mean? He was the guy who started it.
Right, and to kind of, I guess, before we move on to Warner Wanker, I just want to play this audio clip from him from a 60-minute interview. So yeah, let me play this and
I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. I want to save the world. And money's great. I can't get enough money. And
So yeah, I know you can't hear, but basically he's like, he says, I want to save the world, and then he goes on to say money. I can't get enough money, and that's where I'm like, wait, where's he going with this? And then here, actually, I'm gonna share screen this time.
Yeah.
So then he talks about why money is great, which is kind of funny. So here we go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to buy wilderness areas with it. Every single cent I get goes straight into conservation. And guess what, Charles? I don't give a rip whose money it is, mate. I'll use it and I'll spend it on buying land.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he just has every single
So
ounce of himself, his money, his energy, his time, his passion into protecting our planet,
Yeah.
protecting our wild. He embodies that so much, and like what a freaking guy! Like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
so good. The world lost one of its great heroes.
Yeah. One of a kind.
when we
One
lost
1 in 7 billion.
Yeah, I definitely believe like this is something it's a little political, but when you have a world where you see a lot of great villains appearing, I believe for every great villain there's a great hero. Superheroes need supervillains, so it's about balance in that regard. And I think he was one of those great heroes of that time.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy that we lost him.
Never had a single like, out of character thing or bad thing. No scandals. No like, oh, Steve Irwin fucked my wife or something. You know what I mean? He
Yeah,
was
there's
through and through.
yeah,
Just
he was who he was.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, agreed. And like everyone loved him for that. He was a genuine guy.
yeah.
And I definitely think also that's part of the appeal is, he was so passionate, but also like he was honest about it. You could see in his eyes and in the way he acted, the way his demeanor, what he spent his money on and everything. He was genuinely that person.
Yeah.
He wasn't faking it. He wasn't playing a character. It was Steve Irwin.
Right.
And I remember one of my favorite quotes from Steve Irwin, actually. I'm just now remembering it. It goes something along the lines of, what's more dangerous, like, snakes or humans or whatever like that. And he's like, or do you prefer, what's it called? Reptiles or snakes to humans? And he goes, I prefer snakes because at least they're honest when they try to kill you.
Yeah.
It's like humans
I
will
know what
pretend
you're
to be
talking
your
about.
friend first.
Right.
And it's like,
I
oh
heard
my
that.
goodness, like that's so
That's
true.
genius,
and I
man.
agree. And like that's 100% accurate with animals as well. Like if they want to harm you, they make it very clear, right?
Yeah. A
Humans
fox
are
is
the
just
only
a fox.
species.
A bear's a bear,
Yeah,
man. There's
exactly.
no ulterior motives going on behind that you don't know about. They are what they are.
Yeah. And animals are
He is
so
what he
pure.
is. That's what's cool about
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, and he had that same mindset, same like kind of heart about himself, which I loved.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'm having such a nostalgia trip right
Oh,
now.
I know. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys,
Like the research and stuff, I was just like, man, what a guy.
right, we're gonna drop links to a bunch of really cool videos and stuff. Like we got the pilot episode of the Crocodile Hunter, and yeah, we're gonna. If you guys want to go on a Steve Irwin nostalgia bender, we'll give you some good links to check out in the notes. So be sure to check that out. But yeah.
And when is Steve Irwin Day?
Yeah, so if you really want to turn up and throw some shrimp on the Barbie, I don't know, Australia. November 15th is is not the anniversary of his death. Sorry, it's International Steve Irwin Day. So that's
awesome.
also a good day to go hug some dolphins or something.
Yeah, and just be good to the planet and remember him and what he stood for, and yeah, he's such a legend. Like,
yeah.
But I just love people like that. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So moving on to a modern day legend or supervillain, we got our Warden or Wanker for this week. So now you only get one a month, but basically Warden, somebody who does something good for the environment, protector like Steve Irwin, and a Wanker is a shitbird. Nobody likes a wanker. So what do we got for this week?
Yeah, so this week we have this Irish teen who, for a science project, figured out how to filter out microplastics from the ocean. So his name is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Colin, help me out here. His name is Fionn.
I'm not going to be able to help you out.
Vieira. He's Irish. He was in the Google Science Fair, and basically what he figured out was by combining some chemicals that would stick to microplastics, which are plastics that are smaller than 6 millimeters or something like that. So it's super hard to filter and get them out of water, right? Especially like ocean water or whatever water that we have coming from our washing machines and other sources. He figured out that these chemicals could stick to the microplastics, but not only that, turn it into ferrofluid, right?
So what's that?
So ferrofluid is a magnetic fluid. So what would happen is you could put a magnet in that water, body of water, and the microplastics that are bound to the chemicals will get attracted to the magnet.
Damn.
So Google awarded him with a lot of money for his idea, and it successfully pulls out 88% of the microplastics. So it's not 100%, but at the same time, that's such a good rate of filtration compared to other methods, and it's super simple, super clean to use. And you're like, oh, this is a science fair kid. It's probably not like a legit test. This guy had a sample size of 1,000. He tested and replicated it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And to get these numbers.
Dude,
so it's
crazy.
definitely proven. Definitely, I would say valid. If you're able to prove something 1,000 times and 88% of the time it's successful, I think that's pretty good results. I'd bet on those odds.
Yeah.
So great guy, figured this out, and he definitely deserves that money. And they're trying to now implement that in water filtration.
Right.
So
yeah. The question is, will it scale? Right.
Yeah, that's obviously a bigger issue, but I think it's great that the younger generation, people even younger than us, are tackling these problems and succeeding. There are solutions to these problems, maybe that we can't think of with our approach, but he's taking a more scientific approach and succeeding in it, and I think that's really important. Now it's just about scaling it. So I think
young minds are innovative, man. Thanking outside of the box.
Thanks, Warden. Yeah, awesome.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, Ireland. Fuck yeah, Celtic genes. We share some genes,
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, hope you liked our episode. Please remember to like, subscribe, share it with friends. If you want to talk to us or interact with us, hit us up on Instagram or even
at
our
lifestyle.
Email. Yeah, and our email is protectyourwildpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'll chat with you there. Send us suggestions of topics you want to hear about, things you want us to talk about, people you want to see on the podcast. And I hope you liked our episode on Steve Irwin. He definitely impacted us in our childhood and still inspires us today. I kind of want to leave you guys with a cool quote that kind of sums up Protect Your Wild and also Steve Irwin. And this is a quote by him. It's called if we save our wild places, we ultimately save ourselves. So protect your wild and we'll save ourselves.
There you go.
Yeah.
Also, a quick reminder, sign up for our email thing, because when we're talking to these companies, if you want to get the discount codes, we just got one from United by Blue as well. That's going to be valid through October 19th, I think, or 31st maybe. But we've been able to get exclusive discount codes from all these brands, and that's pretty sweet. And we just want to pass it on to y'all, so check that out.
Awesome. So thank you all for listening. See you next week.
Protect your wild.
Bye.
Man, Steve Irwin is an absolute legend. But thanks again, you guys, for listening. And be sure, if you like what you hear, to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to it. Leave us a review. And check out our blog and whatnot at aldalifestyle.com. We got some good stuff going on there. But we got more interviews coming at you next week, so I hope you'll tune in for those. And yeah, see you then.